Hey everyone, Curse Deck Builder here, making our way to 10,000 decks assisted, and here we are with a really fun deck. So fun in fact that you'll be able to play it legally for a very short time. This deck comes to us from Lexa, who says MTG has announced their Pride event for the year, and it's going to be a commander game where any two creatures can be your commander as if both of them had partner. I'm just going to put that up here. This is the site where you can look up you can find, maybe I'll link it in the description down below for their information. So Lexa says, now I had to build a thematic deck, so I have made one with actual girlfriends Saheeli and Huatli. Currently the deck is very Huatli focused, and I want to find a better balance between the two commanders. And I love this. I am very excited for this. I really like both the theming, I love this as a Pride Month event, but I also love to have like specific game rules and a specific fun kind of game. I'm going to try to see if I can build a deck for this event myself, because it looks like a lot of fun, and what a fun way to kind of get some creativity into the decks you build. And with Saheeli and Huatli together, it just makes sense. So thank you so much, Alexa, for sending this, and honestly, I hadn't heard about it till now, so thank you even further for bringing it to my attention. I'm really excited. We've got two commanders, one with a back, it's a transform commander to go through, so let's stop beating around the bush and get right into it. If you'd like to take a look at the deck list we're talking about today, or if you'd like to submit your own deck list to me so that I can make a video assisting your deck, please check the video description down below. So who are our commanders and what do they do? Starting up, we have Saheeli, the Sun's Brilliance, a blue-red human artificer with one ability. She's a 2/2, I forgot to add. Blue-red, tap, create a token that's a copy of another target creature or artifact you control, except for it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, sack it at the beginning of the next end step. Traditionally, this is like a Kiki-Jiki effect, but really good because you can target legendary cards and you can target non-creature artifacts, which is fantastic. This by herself is just a really fun card to kind of build an artifact deck, an artifact deck in, or any form of kind of like haste enabling clone kind of shenanigans. But it gets a lot more fun when we combine her with her girlfriend Huatli. Are they girlfriends? I always feel the older I get, they're like partners now, right? Like just in theme of the deck. I feel like their bond is very strong, so I would consider them partners, as I considered my partner before I married her. But Huatli, Poet of Unity. 2 and a green, human warrior bard, 2/3. When she enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand and shuffle. And then she has another ability, which we'll get to in a second, that transforms her. But I really do like that this first half does intrinsically work with Saheeli. Huatli gets you lands out of your deck into your hand, which is nice because we are in a dinosaur deck with a lot of high mana cards. And I do like that creating a robot copy of your girlfriend, now I'm going to say girlfriend, but a robot copy of your partner gets you a land, even though it shatters immediately because the presence of the real one is too much to bear. So that's fun, but mainly we're playing Huatli for the other side, which is Roar of the Fifth People. This is a very cool saga. It has 4 really strong modes. The first one is to create 2 3/3 dinosaurs. The second one is to give this card the ability to tap for red, green, or white. And then, not even finally, next you can search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And then finally, dinosaurs you control get double strike and trample until the end of turn. Most likely a very lethal turn when you get this out and you have dinosaurs. So those are our commanders, and I understand how this deck ended up a lot more dinosaur focused because Huatli is the more restrictive one of the two. So it's kind of tricky to, bend the needle back, if that makes sense, because dinosaurs are kind of really parasitic or really kind of specific to what they do, and they don't really allow you to have a lot of room to do other things. So with that in mind, I'm going to try to make my additions to kind of balance out the deck more dinosaur focused, but that were dinosaurs or other cards that work really well with Saheeli. The goal is to make them work well with the deck primarily, Saheeli secondary, and then the like Huatli plan tertiary, because I think the Huatli plan is already just very, very good. Looking through the deck, I'm sure staunch viewers will not be surprised by my immediate eye going towards 35 lands and a curve that looks like this. Now, it's not terrible. We do have a commander that pulls basics out of our deck, and we do have the way that Saheeli can copy her to make her more copies. I will note we are playing only 6. Which land am I missing? Forest, Island, yeah, the full 8. Sorry, I was just not seeing the forest. We are playing 8 basics that should be more than enough to get the lands that we want. But that being said, depending especially with one of the cards I want to put in, I wouldn't mind having a few other basics. So adding at least 2 more, bringing us to 37 would be nice. Now, most of the deck I do really like. There's a lot of really fun synergies, and it's clear the main plan is to drop big dinosaurs and smash face. But with that in mind, because the rest of the deck I really do like, I wanted to specifically look at the higher cost cards of the deck, starting at 5 mana and going further to kind of put a critical eye to our top end, because frankly, a lot of our dinosaurs are incredibly lethal as is. Now, traditionally, there's this kind of like thing with dinosaurs that when you get enough of them on the battlefield, you're probably going to win because they're just so, I guess, beefy. It's the same thing with dragons, right? Like once you had dragons, demons, angels, like they are clunky to play with when you're casting 1 a turn, but if you continue to cast 1 a turn for 3 or 4 turns, you tend to win the game. So I'm not looking for a win condition, I'm looking for cards that provide the most for us, and I'm especially going to be looking for cards that synergize with Saheeli. So Bonehorde Dracosaur is a card that is just really good in raw power. 5/5 flying first strike already is fantastic, and then upkeep you have, you know, the ability to pseudo impulse draw 2 and then get benefits off of what you draw. Just a very, very strong card. But I will say this card doesn't actually do much with Saheeli. When you use Saheeli, actually, is it next end step? Perhaps you can use sacrifice. Okay, so there is a way to make them work together. I shouldn't have been so quick. Where this card can be, you can create a copy of this during the last end step, and you'll get 2 upkeep triggers. So this card is actually really, really good. That's kind of a big hoop to jump through, because you need to cast the Bonehorde Dracosaur. You need 2 additional mana and Saheeli untapped in order to, and like with haste or not summoning sick, in order to do this. But if you do, you're pseudo drawing 4 cards, you're making dinosaur tokens, you're probably making maybe at least 1 treasure. That's really, really strong, attacking with 2 5/5 first strike flyers. That's really, really good. Very impressed with that card. Karuga is fantastic. I'm sure there's a version of this deck where Karuga can be our... Oh no, because Saheeli's 2 mana. So close. I was going to say Karuga could be our companion, but unfortunately that's not the case. Still a fantastic card that works really well and works really, really well with Saheeli. No complaints. Pantslaza, I feel like I'm mispronouncing that. The sun flavored, as I misread my first look. Very fantastic. Once again, ETB, Discover, fantastic card, works with Saheeli. Nothing, no notes, keep going. Quartzwood Crasher is at the point that we're starting to get close. I really like the trample. I like giving haste. I think this is outside. So this is good when you have other beefy dinosaurs, other dinosaurs that have trample specifically, or you have Saheeli out. So this is close to win more in that sense, because it's good when you are ahead, when you're at the end of neutral where you have a pretty good board with trample, or when you have one of your commanders out. That to me slots into win more. It is very, very strong, and it is very, very strong with Saheeli, so I'm hesitant, but I did want to point out that this card on certain boards is just going to be a little disappointing. Swooping Pterodon. I like this I like this a lot. I think at the beginning of next step, at the beginning of next end step, target land deals 3 damage to that creature. That's so specific. I'm sure there's something going on there. But, oh, because it's dropped onto the land, and then the land deals 3 damage. Okay, that's funny. Okay, this one is really, really good. Unfortunately, the triggers don't stack the way I want, where now it does 6 damage to each creature. But this is fine. I think this is cute. I wish it did more damage, but works with Saheeli, has haste, no notes. Temple Altasaur. Now, this is one of the cards that I think I'm less impressed with. I do appreciate that you can use Saheeli to respond to certain things. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't stack because it's not one less, it's all but one. So no, I'm not very impressed with this card. I think it's really cute. I like that it gets around Blasphemous Axe. I like that it stops burn-based removal. But I will note that like most of your removal is going to be like Swords to Plowshares to like, I don't know, Damnation, Toxic Deluge, that kind of stuff. So this kind of stops a very narrow part of the of hate, and also your creatures would just like, creatures are gonna live through combat, right? They're dinosaurs. I don't really see this being particularly good, and I'd like to cut it. Wrathful Raptors. I think this is really, really cute, but outside, like, it's funny how these two cards are right beside each other and they don't work well together. So I like the Wrathful Raptors a lot more because they work like Trample 5/5 is great. I do like how this stacks with Saheeli. That being said, I would like this, like, I like this in a Saheeli deck just like without the partner because it's so strong. But I will note that without enough Blasphemous Acts or things like that, I don't know if I like it as much. Because here we have a few things, don't get me wrong, and are we playing the Raptor? There it is. Yeah, the Marauding Raptors here, and we have Lightning Bolt, and I'm sure there's a few more that deal damage in here because that is a big part of dinosaurs. But we don't have enough, I think, to guarantee it. That being said, I still think it's very, very good. It's very good in doubles. I just think it could be stronger. I would love to build around this card. And with that in mind, excuse me, with that in mind, I'm less keen on it. Colossal Dreadmaw, which took me a while to understand that it was Brachiosaurus, is the greatest magic card known to humankind. So I'm no notes. Perfect. Carnage Tyrant. Once again, I don't really like this. I think the world where this card is good, we are past. I like that it's cute. I like that it's fun. But outside on one-on-one, it rhymed, I don't particularly love it. It's just going to be wrathed away. 7/6 Trample is fine. It works well with Saheeli in the sense that it's like a kiki-jiki target that just smashes face. Overall, I'm unimpressed and I wouldn't mind cutting. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I think this is fine. I don't really like it. I think this whole giving Vigilance and Trample is cool, but it doesn't stack well with Saheeli. It's 6 mana to put out. It's 5 to suspend. And though the suspend ability is really, really cool, I will note there's probably just better ways to give Trample to everything that's not a 6 mana creature. Don't get me wrong, this card is really, really impressive once you can get it out and if you can get it out cheaply. But outside of that, I don't know to what degree I really love it. It's a big beater and I think it works thematically and it is a fun card, but I think there's definitely better cards to put in. Earthshaker Dreadmaw. Did I suggest this? No, I don't think I did. I'll have to double check, but absolutely fantastic card, no notes. Itali Primal Storm. Wow, I hate that art. Oh my goodness, I hate it so much. I don't think it is controversial to not like the breakfast cereal ones, but once again, great card, no notes, no problems. This is where I'd like to start ending the curve, but we have to keep going because we're in dinosaurs. I think the Ravenous Tyrannosaurus is okay. I think there's something cute about the fact that we can use this with Saheeli's copies to devour the copies and bring this in at least as a 9/9, because otherwise we're devouring our own creatures, which we really don't want to do. That being said, it is really good with Saheeli in the sense that you can just keep cloning this, attacking, dealing 6 damage to like small creatures and just burning your opponents out. I would like this in a more aggressive shell. We're just reaching that point where like we have so many good 6 drops that it's hard. They're starting to fight over each other, and I'm going to suggest a few more. But I will say this card is rather scary. I just don't think to what degree that Devour 3 really comes up. I think in the right deck where you can make a bunch of copies of it while having a bunch of tokens out, it'll be very, very impressive. But I don't see it as much. Regal Behemoth, I think is fine. It's close, right? Like, at least if you have 2 copies of this, you can make yourself, like with Saheeli, you can make yourself the Monarch again to immediately get that ability to double tap mana. And then with 2 of these out, you actually gain double the mana, so getting to triple mana whenever you tap a land. That's really cool. I think my problem is getting to this mana. Like, getting to 6 mana is the tough part, not when you're there. But that being said, when this is out, you are tapping for triple mana with Saheeli out. Oh, that's so cool. A lot of these cards are just so cool, but there's just so much mana, I'm having a hard time. Okay, good. Seismic Monster Soar. It has mountain cycling, but even then, I don't think this is where I want to be. It doesn't work with... It feels like just... I would rather this just be land ramp. I don't want to cast this dinosaur ever. If this was just Farseek instead, I would be happier. Trumpeting Carnosaur. Both of these are swords. I like a lot. Ancient Imperiosaur. I don't think you have the means to convoke this card. I think this is a very, very fun card, but I don't think you're going to convoke it. I also don't like, despite having an ETB, it does not work with Saheeli. Not a big fan of this. I think this is just a clunky creature that doesn't work in this kind of deck. Very cool outside of this deck with a lot of convoke synergies, but here it's just kind of fine. Huatli number 2, fantastic. No notes. Once again, great card. Love the ETB. Love the transform side. Just fantastic. Galta and Maverin, I think we're getting close to the point that this is too much. I do appreciate the sheer power of this card, but because we can't Saheeli it, it is just a very, very big creature, and it doesn't have an ETB, so you don't even get that from the Saheeli, so there's no point in Saheeling it. I don't like either of these abilities. Don't get me wrong, it makes the white vampire, the 1/1 vampires to convoke, but I don't want to do that. I do like that first ability, but for this ridiculous mana cost, I think it's too much. I think this is too much for sure. Nurturing Bristleback, which for some reason it tells me is not legal in this deck due to format restrictions. Not entirely sure what that's about, but the deck isn't legal in a format outside of one specific event, so it's fine anyways. Same thought as before. I think I'd really just rather this be ramp. Don't get me wrong, I do appreciate this works a lot better with Saheeli, creating 3/3s every time, but that being said, I'd rather the ramp than the card, than the cycle, honestly. It's just a big difference, and being able to get to the high mana count is really what you want to be doing, and I prefer that quite a bit. Coming to the end, we have the last 4 here. Thundering Spineback. I think this is just a little cute. All we get from Saheeling it is a +1/+1. It's a mana sink at 7 mana. It's rare that you see a 7 mana card have a 6 mana sink. Like, that's a lot. I don't really see this being particularly good. And even if you have like that dream hand or setup where you have like tons and tons of mana, do you really want to be spending it on 3/3 dinosaurs for 6? I don't think so. I think this is an easy cut. Vaultborn Tyrant is fantastic. Really, really great card. Works with Saheeli, works in general. Fantastic. I really like the weird synergy with Saheeli with its death trigger, that it makes an artifact version of itself, which is what Saheeli does. And I think perhaps there's something really interesting there that you can do in a more artifact copying style of this deck, using things like the Phyrexian Metamorph and stuff like that. But I don't, at this point, it's just kind of the artifact nature of this card is just flavor text, but I'm really nitpicking. This card is amazing. Cresting Mosasaurus. This one's interesting. I really appreciate the emerge cost that reduces how much this costs, but then its ETB doesn't actually work with Saheeli, but its ETB is really, really good. So with that in mind, I feel mixed about it. I think it just, like, it's really, really strong when you can go in for the win with this, and other times it's just kind of okay, because by emerging this, you're probably losing one of your dinosaurs to begin with. So if you're not ahead, this card feels just kind of okay. And with that in mind, it's win more. It's a 4/8, which is a stat line that is not impressive compared to the rest of your creatures. It doesn't have any natural abilities for evasion. And honestly, you don't want to copy it, so I don't like it, but I recognize that this is kind of a very smash bomb at the end of the game, so I'll leave it to you. Finally, ending with Polyraptor. Fantastic, though I wish we had more synergies to deal damage to the Polyraptor, but I will admit the scary thing about a Polyraptor is having another Polyraptor. And so by just having the 2 right off the bat, or having this and then hasting a copy, that's 10 mana, that's a lot of mana. But the second you can start making a copy of this, it gets better. And so if it's a hasted copy that goes in that forces blocks to create more Polyraptors, you're going to be very, very happy. So a card I like. We could go deeper into this, but we're not. I'll leave it up to you. Okay. That's generally what I wanted to talk about in terms of the higher up stuff. I think there's an argument that some of the dinosaur 1 mana cards here could just be like Birds of Paradise and the like. And this Kinjali's Collar only gets better than Birds of Paradise if you are casting more than 1 dinosaur a turn, which at times is difficult here. But they're on flavor. Kinjali's Collar also is an interesting Saheeli target. So in the end, I'm not going to be too hard on them. I think they're fine. If this was like a deck that wanted to be more competitive, there would be better options. All right, let's go to additions. I think it's a crime that you aren't playing Heartbeat of Spring, especially this version. Not only because this was the thing that made this ship sail. I believe this was I think there was maybe a story that alluded. Yeah, there was a story where they met for the first time, but this was the card that I didn't know until I saw this card. I was like, oh my goodness, I love it. So very, very happy. And in fact, this is the Magicus Pride secret layer. I'm pretty sure you could play any single one of those cards within these colors and be very, very happy. So excellent, excellent card. Also, thematically works with the deck, or I guess mechanically, I should say, that it just adds you more mana and you need that mana for dinosaurs. So fantastic, great card, love it, put it in the deck immediately. So let's start with ETBs with Saheeli, starting with dinosaurs. There weren't many that you missed, but a few really caught my eye. Topiary Stomper, I think, is really the big one. Notably, it is land ramp and a dinosaur. And though like it is a slow dinosaur because it requires you to have 7 lands in order to attack or block, I will tell you that you need 7 lands to cast some of your dinosaurs, so it's not that slow. Works fantastic with Saheeli, and getting that extra 2 mana, basically every time you do 2 mana, get a basic into play is great, which will speed you up to 7 or more lands, which means both the Topiary Stomper and the copy can attack that turn. Great card. I'm always impressed with it. I really, really like it. People also tend to forget about it. Like, people don't think about the fact that it's going to attack, which is really nice. And also that 4 toughness puts it out of bolt range, which some people will, when you try to blink like Farhaven Elf, they'll bolt it instead. And you just can't do that here, which I think is really, really nice. Also, the plant dinosaur thing is really cute. Also, this art is also really nice. Okay, moving on. Palani's Hatcher is really, really cool. Is it better than some of, like, most of your 5 drops? No, I don't think so. I think like there's a few it's better than, and it's like probably the last 5-drop you should play of this quality, but it works really, really cool with Saheeli. So Polani's Hatcher gives haste to all of your dinosaurs, which I really, really like, but also it has an ETB that creates tokens, eggs, which can be devoured by other creatures, which is kind of sad, but great at the same time. But notably, despite having an ETB that like doesn't work because you need this beginning of combat trigger, this actually works amazingly with Saheeli triggers, because you get 2 hatchers that create, so the second hatcher creates the eggs, then on combat 2 or more eggs will transform, right? Because each of them will have a trigger. So all of a sudden you're attacking with an additional 5/3 and an additional 3/3, and I really like that. I think this is just really similar to Regisaur Alpha, but what I do like is that the difference is that the Regisaur Alpha doesn't continue to make bodies if you don't keep making copies, whereas the Polani's Hatcher continues to make copies even when it doesn't have, you don't keep Saheeling it. So I think that makes it a lot better. But I am suggesting both. Both of them, I will admit the other dinosaurs you control have haste is the greatest part of this, and it is just really, really helpful to, when you're dropping those 6-drops, those Atalis, and those other really big creatures, to immediately be able to swing with them is really, really nice. Especially on the turns that you have like Huatli Sagas coming off, so that you can... Actually, that doesn't work that way because you can't summon that in time. Okay, outside of that, it just helps you when the Huatli Saga will give you that dinosaur, you can play it and immediately attack with it, is just really, really nice. The last one is Burning Sun's Avatar. I just think it's neat with Huatli. Once again, I don't think the power level's really there, but if we were... one thing I really do like about this is that it does hit your own dinosaurs in order to trigger Enrage. That's the big thing about this. I like the slow burn of it for your opponents, like 3 on every copy. I think that's fine. Attack with a 6/6, I think that's fine. But its ability to start enraging your own creatures when you don't have other targets, or your enraged targets are better than those targets, is really interesting. Is it that great? Probably not, but it did catch my eye for that very niche kind of, like this and the Wrath Raptors or something like that. The ones, go back and just take a look. The Wrathful Raptors. What a name. I really like that name. And I really like this card. Those two working together are really, really impressive. Granted, in order to make the most of this, you might want to be able to constantly untap Saheeli. Maybe use something like Intruder Alarm, or one of those untap target creatures, like the, I think the Urn from Kamigawa, or I can't remember what it's called, that untaps a creature with an activated ability. That could be really good, where you're just making copies, and then you're making copies. It's just really, really impressive. Now, this one isn't a dinosaur, but I think this is probably the best you're gonna get with Saheeli is Kindred Discovery. Kindred Discovery is already just a phenomenal card that should be in this Kindred deck, but I think notably it's both it gives the Titan ability of ETB or attack, draw a card, and that is the maximum use you can get out of a hasted clone, right? You get the ETB right away, and then you attack with it. So this represents for 2 mana, you have the clone, and you get whatever triggers it has, and whatever damage it can do. But in addition, you're drawing 2 cards is really, really good. This might be, bar none, the best 5-drop in your deck. That's, like, without a doubt. If you even have, like, one mediocre dinosaur, this is really, really good. And it also just benefits when Saheeli's not out, you know, just furthering your game plan. So this is definitely by far the card that impresses me the most, and I think you should really play, but let's keep going anyways. Going into cards that are more just Saheeli themed, because they are not dinosaurs, but I think are worth considering. Gleaming Geardrake is interesting to me because it kind of cantrips because it creates the clue and that you can use that later for mana. But what I really like is that every Saheeli activation will just grow this creature a little bit. Now, is it huge? Gonna get huge? Probably not, but I think it's reasonable to get this to a 4/4 or 5/5, and then it's a flying 4/4 or 5/5, which I think is really, really good. This is a card that I actually haven't seen a lot in other formats that I thought I would, so maybe I gotta keep this in my mind because I think it's a really, really cool card, especially with treasure tokens, which this deck doesn't have a lot of, but still very, very impressive. Terror of the Peaks. This is another one. This one's very, very easy to recommend. It's an amazingly powerful card. Would probably be the second most powerful card, maybe even tied for first with Kindred Discovery. Just so powerful, but this does come at a price tag. I will say the fact that this doesn't have a little cowboy hat is heartbreaking. This creature comes in 5/4, already does a really great thing. Everyone knows what this card does, but the Saheeli copies are just fantastic because you can preemptively create the copy, cast something else, and all of a sudden you are doing just tremendous damage to your opponents or to anything you'd like, right? It's just any target. Such a good card, so powerful, but unfortunately not a dinosaur. Another dragon is Astral Dragon. This one really, really catches my eye. This is very, very... this is like the highest bar of, like, to me, using Saheeli. It's 8 mana, which is a lot, but it's incredibly impressive because every time it ETBs, you get 2 3/3 dragon tokens that are copies of a non-creature permanent. Now, this has a very high ceiling. Your opponents have Rhystic Study, your opponents have Smothering Tide, your opponents have Necropotence, your opponents have, I mean, anything at all. You're going to take this. You can even pick lands, right? And you get those 3/3, so you're putting 10 power on the battlefield for 8 mana. But then with one Saheeli activation, just one, you are putting another 10 power on the battlefield and keeping the 3/3 dragon, oh, I guess they're just copies here, but that's really sad that this doesn't have art. I get it. I get why this doesn't, but I would love having 3/3 dragons in this kind of art style. But you'll get 2 more of those and you get to keep them when the Astral Dragon, the artifact one, disappears. So very, very cool. Love this card. This could be easily the ceiling or like the highest mana cost card in the deck, and I wouldn't blink an eye. I think it would be just very, very impressive. Once again, a shame it's not a dinosaur, but at least dragons are giant lizards, so not that far. Coming to the end, I've got a few non-dinosaur, non-dragon blink targets that I think are worth considering. Are they the coolest and in theme? No, but they're definitely, you need to think about them because they're just staples of blink decks. Flicker Wisp, anyone who has not played with Flicker Wisp, really, actually, hold on. I'm gonna get called out for this. It's not a sorcery speed. Excellent. Okay, I was worried. Momentarily, I was like, oh, I thought Saheeli was sorcery speed. So Flicker Wisp, if you have never played with Flicker Wisp and instant speed blink, you have not lived. This card is so powerful. It allows you to do so many things. It's like the perfect Swiss Army knife in like any blink deck, any Aether Vial deck, any way you can get this down at instant speed or blink it, you're going to be impressed with what it can do. It can blink away lands, it can blink away enchantments like Rhystic Study, it can blink away blockers, it can protect your creatures from a board clear, it can rebuy ETBs, it can get leave the battlefield plays, and it can just do so much, and it's a 3/1 flyer. It also has this really cool full art that I really like. Let's get it with better quality. There we go. But I have never seen in person. I think it's so cool, but I've never seen anyone play it. Unfortunately, Modern Death and Taxes doesn't use this card because Modern Death and Taxes is not a deck anymore. Rest in peace. I love that deck. I used to play it. Maybe with the Neil Eldrazi cards, but this is a card that's really cool. Very high ceiling, very high floor, honestly. Very good card. Likewise, Ewit, you don't need me to explain why this card is good. This card is good for the same reasons. It is very versatile and very strong with blinking. Here's the one though. Here's the one that caught my eye. Primeval Herald is something that I think is a lot better. It is a Titan, but in like the Farhaven Elf style. So it is an ETB to get a basic land tapped, but in addition, it gets another one on attack, which once again, this is the line of text that you want with Saheeli. Really, really great, just fantastic. But at this point, if you're playing all of the ones I've said, like Topiary Stomper, this, you have Saheeli, we're getting to the point that you need to put more basics in. I'm thinking you want at least, like, we were at 8, I said to go up to 10. You might want to go to 11 or 12. I know it's a lot of basics in a 4-color deck, but if you start relying on these, I think it's worth getting a few more out. Usually I would say it's, I mean, even then, no. Like, if you have triggered this enough times that there's nothing else, I think you're fine with it. Yeah, I think that's fine. 9 to 10 basics should be enough. I'm being a little too precious about wanting to get this trigger every time, when realistically, if you get this trigger 3 times, you're probably winning the game. So that's fine. Final ones that really caught my eye but are weird. Vengeful Ancestor. This is a dragon. It's a bit late, but I think it's really, really interesting. It has that Titan ability of enter the battlefield or attacks, and it goads. Not really what this deck wants to be doing. It does a little bit of damage when you get that goad attack through. There's something notable that you can create a copy on your opponent's turn to get only half the triggers to goad a creature and then have 2 copies, so their goaded creatures deal 2 damage to themselves when they attack. Is that worth it? I don't know, but just creating copies of this creature and attacking opponents and basically for 2 mana doing a 3/4 flyer, haste, and goading 2 of their creatures, I think that's pretty good. I think I'd be very, very impressed by that. So with that in mind, I think this is cool. Don't know if it works completely with the deck, but it's something worth noting. Finally, Bruised Tarl, Boorish Herder. I bet that's not something you expected for me to put. A creature that definitely has partner, but notably has our wonderful, what would we call this, Titan ability. Now, that being said, because they are legendary, you will not get the attack either way because you have to sacrifice one of them, so not so much there. But double strike and lifelink on a dinosaur is really, really good. Our final chapter on Huatli gives trample and double strike. This isn't as good, but it's incredibly easy to trigger. You can trigger it repeatedly. I think it is very, very good. If you can, in certain situations, you could play Bruised Tarl. You can then immediately create, so give 1 dinosaur double strike and lifelink, then Saheeli Bruised Tarl and sacrifice the original, which rest in peace, but then get another ETB, give another dinosaur, and then on attack with that hasted artifact copy of Bruised Tarl, give a 3rd dinosaur double strike and lifelink. That's just insane. That is definitely worth 6 mana, definitely worth a card, and will probably win you the game, if not skyrocket you into winning. If your dinosaurs have trample in any way, that's probably going to be game. This is probably too cute, but it really, really caught my eye. And that's it. There we are, all my additions. This is such a cool idea. I actually am really impressed with Wizards of the Coast for doing this. I think it's great. I really like what this idea is, and I really like what you've been doing, Lexa. Thank you so much for this deck. It's so fun. It's giving me ideas of what I want to play. I won't say anything yet because I'm going to want to brew on it a little bit, but I'll definitely make something, I think, because this looks like a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I hope this video was helpful. Good luck and happy deck building. Thank you so much for watching. This video is brought to you by viewers like you and people on my Patreon. If you'd like to send me another draft of this deck, or any deck, there is a link in the video description down below. And if you'd like to make your deck one of my donation decks I work on, there's a link there too. Finally, if you'd like to like, comment, subscribe, I would be very appreciative. It helps the channel quite a bit. Thank you and good luck in brewing and building.